Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Kalpana. Today we are going to start company law, which is interchangeably called corporate law also. So it is the first lecture in the series where I would be explaining you a very interesting topic of corporate governance, that is history of corporate governance, as we should know how new corporate law regime has taken the shape today. So the background is in history. How did it start, and what is its journey? And journey is very interesting. So concept of company date back to 12th century. The term is derived from French word company, referring to a group engaged in a specific mission, often warfare. 12th century was a time of warfare, and people used to acquire the territory, wealth, and everything through war and battles. So there was a time of battles indeed. Over the time, this evolved into business context as we know today, not as warfare. So corporate governance as practice emerged alongside formalization of companies as distinct legal entities that could act independently from their owners. So, a notion pioneered by early entities like East India Company, that is the first joint stock company of the world. So, today we are going to explore the rich history and evolution of corporate governance, highlighting most important movements and reform that shaped modern corporate structures and responsibilities. Origin of joint stock companies. So East India Company was found in 1600. It was the first joint stock company which was granted legal right authority to trade in East India, that is our country, and beyond. Investors pooled wealth to gain rights under Royal Charter, marking the beginning of legally recognized corporate body. That is the first instance where we see East India Company being separate legal entity is having all rights which we understand as a company today. So that is the first company, and that is popularly known globally. What is the significance of having a separate legal entity? That is also interesting and important to understand. This model allowed companies to act as single entities with managers representing shareholders. It sets the foundation for limited liability and separate corporate personality, essential concept for expanding industrial capitalism. Here, the people who are running the company are uh, liable to the limited extent, whereas the whole responsibility being separate legal entity is on company. Early corporate speculation and regulation, how the journey started and people abuse that having the entity in the name of company, started doing business and pooled the fund and promised the people whoever invest in this company would be getting higher dividend. And this is still going on. That has not been prevented. South Sea Company bubble. So company chartered in 1711 promised extravagant dividends, causing share price to soar artificially. Sometime you may have witnessed that share market is growing so sharp without any science or rationale. So bubble burst, speculative frenzy led to financial ruin for many investors, creating mistrust in joint stock companies. So such kind of experience by the investors shaken the faith in corporate governance. So that was another, uh, uh, you know, you can say a requirement of regulating corporate governance so that such kind of incidents can be prevented through law. So British government brought Bubbles Act in 19 sorry 1720, British Parliament prohibited unchartered companies and share transfer to curb speculative abuses and influencing subsequent corporate law. So, chartered companies became the only authorized to pool the funds and inviting funds from the investors. Evolution of corporate law and industrialization go hand in hand because there was a requirement of time. So need for capital is the first thing whenever there is a industrial revolution, and England have been the birthplace of industrial revolution. You must have heard as a student of history. Industrial growth demanded large investment beyond individual means, necessitating a collective capital formation through companies. So, individuals, instead of investing their money, they had more faith in corporate personalities for investing and structured business. So, corporate characteristics, artificial and separate legal personality. So, company is a creation of law which gives a kind of personality, except taking breath, it does have all rights, whatever the humans have. So, limited liability protecting shareholders, it protects shareholders indeed. Representation by agent separating management and ownership. So these are the corporate characteristics. So people can come uh, forward as investors in the companies. Legislation from 1825 to 1948 progressively refined legal frameworks to support industrial capitalism and shareholder protections. So, here the main objective of bringing those continuous separate legislation time to time was protection. Protection to be given to the shareholders whose money is involved in that company. Legal milestones in modern corporate governance, legal personality, which is the first thing, as I told you, bringing corporate existence is a creation of law, it's a fiction of law. So, legal personality, recognition of company as distinct legal entities with rights and responsibility. As you must be knowing, company can own property, can disown property, can transfer property, can have a bank account in their name, just like humans, and have all liabilities and rights like humans, but run by humans. Limited liability, shareholders, financial risk limited to their capital contributions. Ownership, management separation, manager act as agent for shareholders, enhancing corporate governance structures. Share transferability, share became marketable, transferable, enabling liquidity, wider investor participation. So, share is just like a product. Many of you must have a little idea of share market. If you have demat account, equity share market where companies are offering share investment, and whatever the company is earning profit, they transfer you in the form of dividend. Global and economic changes impacting governance. So that is important and interesting to know that WTO brought trade-related investment measures, standardized trade rules globally, affecting investment corporate behavior internationally. So, as we are by signing a lot of trade agreements which are designed by World Trade Organization, leading towards global governance so far as business is concerned, as trade relations have developed to the extent uh, we are dependent for many of the needs to outside countries, and other countries are dependent on us for a lot of services and products. Private investment funds, rise of equity trust reshaped ownership patterns and concentrated private interests. In corporate relations increased Intercompany linkages challenge traditional governance and regulatory framework. Decline of socialism is one of the factor. Collapse of Soviet states highlighted ideological shifts, reinforcing capitalist corporate models, which is natural one, as you know. Philosophical and legal shift in corporate governance from economic to legal focus. Initially, it started as an economic venture, but there is a lot of legal regulation over corporate governance as today. So, corporate governance has evolved from being primarily an economic arrangement to legalistic framework emphasizing compliance. So, compliance is something which is very necessary over everything when it comes to uh, running a company or opening a company, even shutting down a company. There is a legal compliance at every step. Governance structures, formalization of boards, committees, statutory duties to safeguard stakeholder interests. So, a regulatory environment, legal standards increasingly dictate corporate behavior, transparency and accountability. So personal choices are limited when it comes to running a company, opening a company, or winding up a company is concerned. Is it's now more about what law says about its governance. If it violates or there is a non-compliance, there are problems company may face and those directors also. Today's key takeaways and what may happen in future are corporate governance evolved with industrial and legal needs, driven by demands for capital, risk limitation, and management efficiency. Regulation and law remain central, ensuring transparency, shareholder protection, adaptability to global challenges. Future challenge include balancing legal framework with economic realities and ethical governance. So understanding this history provides a foundation for appreciating modern corporate governance and anticipating its future evolution in changing global environment. So with this, I would end here. Happy learning. Take care.